Hi everyone, welcome to Natural Health Practices. For those of you who don't know me on Facebook Live, my name is Kim. I am a nutrition response testing practitioner. We were just talking about how we get a little nervous, but I have my favorite guy Jason sitting up here, so I'm supposed to be more relaxed. All right, I've already messed up, so let me continue. I am among an amazing team of professionals. We offer chiropractic care, nutrition response testing, nutrition coaching, pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. We have a detox room with 2 ionic foot baths, 2 infrared saunas. We have massage therapy, and we have an esthetician who helps us with our natural skincare. So if anybody on Facebook Live has any questions regarding any of our services, don't hesitate to send us a comment. We'd be happy to answer it during this presentation, or you can give us a call at the office anytime. So I am super excited to introduce our guest speaker tonight. Okay, he's going to be talking about how to improve your health with strength training. He is Port Orange's fitness expert. He is owner and trainer at Paradigm Training and Nutrition. He has a bachelor's degree in exercise science. He has 7 years of personal training, and he trains all levels of fitness, as well as a vast variety of personal goals. So we know him super well around here for training Dr. Shelley to her personal best in her fitness competitions. So please, let's welcome Lucas Porto.
Hey. Thank you, Kim.
You're welcome.
That is the nicest anyone's ever been to me. I'm going to keep coming around this place. Just a little about me. I started personal training 7 years ago. Before that, I was a college athlete. I kind of found out pretty quickly that I wasn't very good at the college level. There's a lot of really good athletes there. So then I moved back and I got into personal training, and I thought for 6 months maybe I don't want to train anyone's mom, or I don't want to train anyone's grandma. It's not what I want to do. I want to work with athletes only. And 7 years later, I'm here now working with everyone's mom and everyone's dad. I love every minute of it, and I found out that I really just want to help people. That's really what it comes down to. What we'll go over today is why we should strength train, what to do with strength training, how we should strength train, and then we'll go over some fallacies. We're going to try to keep it in the realm of how to improve your health, and I'm going to describe that as increasing your longevity of your life. What is strength training? I'm just going to read off a basic description of it. Strength training is a form of exercise in which we use our muscles against resistance to increase strength. Pretty straightforward stuff with that. Why now? I'm not going to go into too much more detail. We can go into more, but why should we strength train? Why should everyone strength train is really the question that I'm going to have answered here. As you get older, your muscles start to deteriorate. It's called sarcopenia. No matter what age you are, after 30, it starts to happen a little bit more. But with modern advancements in medicine, chiropractic, nutrition studies that we found, the human population is living longer. It's been shown now that anybody above the age of 65 will, for the first time in 2050 is what they project, for the first time ever, we'll have more people above the age of 65 than below the age of 15. So that's positive signs that we're finding out more and more to make our lives live longer. With that though, after the age of 60, your probability of contracting a disease becomes higher. 92% of people over the age of 65 have some type of disease, whether that's coronary heart disease, stroke, diabetes, pulmonary issues. So although we are living longer, we're still having an increased amount of sickness with us. So as we go, I like to look at studies and different information with things to try to get more data. I looked at they did a study of people below the age of 60 and people above the age of 60. One of the study showed that you're more likely to die the older you get, right? If you're above 60, nobody's beaten it yet. Nobody's won that race yet. I'm still trying to find it for everyone and see if we can do that. But one of the most interesting things that came out of that study, though, was they took each group and they subset them by muscle mass, probably, into strong, average, and weak. In strong, average, and weak above 60. So if you looked at the group, the strong and the weak, the comparison of deaths between those two, you are 2 times more likely to die if you're above the age of 60 and you're weak. So if you have less strength, you have more of a chance to die the older you get. Very, very important. I mean, to double your chances by just a simple thing, reduce your chances with just simply working out, that's a pretty big reason. As you get older, 3 to 8% of your muscle mass deteriorates after the age of 30 per decade. So every decade, you'll probably lose somewhere between 3% and 8% after that. So just remember that. Just keep that in your head. I'm going to try to wrap all this back around. You go back to diseases. So now we're looking at 92%. There's 10 people in this room, 12 people in this room. Let's just call it 10 to make it even numbers. 9 out of 10 of us are probably going to end up with some type of disease. Although we're working on our health and everything like that, it's still a higher probability as of right now until we become better at it. You think about that and you say, well, what does that have to do with strength training? Well, say you do have a stroke. You're then put on bed rest for a long period of time. 10 days, 12 days. Keep that in mind again. We have another study that we went over. They took college-age students, 18 to 24, that averaged 10,000 steps a day. So you're looking at your healthiest group, right? Young, you can do anything, jump, nothing ever affected you, your muscle mass is really good. They immobilized them for 10 days. So they took 18 to 24-year-olds, immobilized them for 10 days. If they walked anywhere, it was in a wheelchair. If they had to go upstairs, they put them in an elevator. And after 10 days, they had a 5% decrease in muscle mass. So now you're looking at, you're 65, you have a stroke, and you're bedridden for 10 days. Well, you haven't touched weights maybe your whole life. So from 30, you're the highest end. So you've lost 8% from 30 to 40. You've lost 8% from 40 to 50. And from 50 to 60, you've lost 8%. So there's 24%. And now you're bedridden for 10 days. Now you're looking at a healthy population, they lost 5%. You're at the lowest end of it now. As you get older, you lose muscle faster and more easily because you don't have a lot. So now you've lost almost the equivalent of what you lost over 3 decades in 10 days. So that's something to keep in mind, as whether you're young or you're old and you think, oh, I'll pick it up later on in life because, you know, I'm just busy now, I gotta work a lot, or I have kids. You should probably get started on it early. So with that, having a stroke, also, okay, so now we've had this decrease in muscle mass, so what happens next? We go to live our normal life again and we're less stable. We can't walk as well. We're more prone to falls. Those things indirectly lead to more deaths than people account for. Being left alone. Well, how many people know somebody that, hey, they fell in the shower or they fell getting out of somewhere and they couldn't get up? And I mean, I can attest to 5 or 6 that I've met that at least have had something like that happen. So that's a good reason enough to strength train, to just prolong your life a little bit and keep your safety a little bit easier. So how do we prevent this? We go to a specialist, maybe a doctor or a chiropractor or a trainer, and they tell us, hey, move around more and eat good, have good nutrition. Kind of helpful. Good things, but without practice of it, it doesn't really do anything for us, right? So we get into something that I call the principle of specificity. In order to stop deteriorating muscle, strength training is the best medicine, remedy. I like to call it a medicine. I think of it as a prescription. that will slow it 10 times what anything else you can do is. Common question I get with that, especially as people, well, I like to walk. I go for walks around my building, and I walk here and I walk there. And walking is good. Activity is good. But as far as sarcopenia and the deterioration of muscle, it is not enough to overload your muscle to build more muscle. It's very, very adaptable. So the more you walk, the easier it becomes. The longer that you walk for, the variables become harder and harder to manipulate. So if you look at somebody, the first time you walk, it's pretty tough. Maybe you haven't walked in a while, you're out of breath. But by about the fifth or sixth time, it'll start to catch up to you, and you'll just be adapted to the whole entire thing. Does that make sense to everyone in here? That it's a lot easier. The variables that you can manipulate with that are basically distance and intensity. So you're either going to have to walk further every single time that you walk. So what if we walk every day for 8 weeks? How much further are we going to have to walk every single time? Not really a very sustainable thing. Intensity, you got to walk faster each time or every week. Well, eventually you're going to reach even Olympic gold medalists reach a set point of how fast they can actually go. And although I'm athletic, I don't consider myself even an Olympic gold medalist than anything. So those two factors make cardio less beneficial towards sarcopenia. Another thing you could look at too is, we'll play into a couple different factors here. I don't want to sound like I'm bashing against it, but if you don't have some other things in line and you just start walking and you walk further and further and you're able to do that for a little while, well, if you don't have good nutrition and you're not strength training, I could maybe even make an argument that you're starting to actually accelerate the sarcopenia process because you're not building any muscle, and the energy you're using to walk will cause some burning of calories, and your body can't determine, okay, this is too much, we'll burn some muscle mass in order to help us push through this. Now it's extreme, don't live and die by that, but it's definitely something to consider. We've answered the why and we've answered the what. Next is the how should we do this. No matter your age, I don't care if you're 20 years old or you're 70 years old, if you've never strength trained before in your life, you are considered a beginner. And when I mean strength train, I mean directly for a year straight with no breaks in between. Or you haven't taken years off in between. So if you're somebody that strength trained 10 years ago, yeah, I went to the gym 5 times a week for a long time, and then you're coming to me 10 years from now, I don't even account for that. Maybe you have some pathways that are there, but whatever you did then probably isn't holding up that well to what you're doing now. And then the consistency of it, if you've never done it consistently, you don't really know how that works. So what does that mean? As a beginner, something you should focus on and think about is, I call it like a caffeine kind of thing. The first time you had, any coffee drinkers in here, the first time you had caffeine in your life, it was one sip and it was like, whoa, that gave me a lot of energy. And then as you get older, you drink a couple more cups of coffee, and then all of a sudden you look, okay, I can do 2 or 3 cups of coffee a day and I'm completely fine. Well, as a beginner, you're like that first sip of coffee. You can do so little and get so much effect from it that you should keep it at that level until you can build a tolerance to exercise. A little more specific with that, what should you do to start this program? Okay, you should strength train. We got that. What is the next step there? You should probably develop a plan, a routine of some sort. How do you do that? There's books, there's the internet that you can go and search for beginner workout programs. Those are on there everywhere. Techniques for beginner programs. You could hire a trainer. I know a guy. He's okay. He's kind of a jerk, but he's all right. And then what should you do next? You should prioritize. You're a beginner. Let's emphasize compound movements. squats, picking things up off of the floor, push-up variations, pull-up variations, things like that. You may not be able to do a pull-up, but there's adjustments you can make so everybody can do a pull-up. There's certain angles you can do to make things easier. And the things that I just named there are all body weight exercises. You don't even need a gym yet. That's how sensitive you are to it. Now you start getting into a higher level, you'll start to utilize more gym equipment and resistance. But if you're looking at how hard I can make a squat without adding any weight to it at all, that's a year's worth of programming. You know, you could do a year's worth before you adapt to that. So if I bring that back to even the cardio side, that's one exercise I could use without changing anything and still make it harder and harder and harder compared to cardio, which kind of levels off after really quickly. So that's why strength training is more, less adaptable, for that. Master those techniques too. Those picking something up off the floor, push-up positions, squats, pull-ups, and then some core movements. A plank is a good one to start with. Once you master those, and when I say master, I mean, if I told you, hey, do a squat, you could sit there and just do a squat right away with no thought process to it at all. You don't even have to think about it before you should even, start to add resistance to yourself or technique, and make sure that you're doing things right. That's a huge thing too. I see people that their technique is horrible, and that's another really quick way to end your working out with an injury, an itis or a knee sprain or a back problem. So make sure you're doing things right. If you feel like you're not doing things right, reach out to somebody. Reach out to somebody you know. Everyone is very helpful. Everybody wants to help everybody. I honestly believe that. So check in with different people. A lot of people can help you. We got the what, we got the how, and now we need to know the when. When should we work out? When is the most ideal time to work out? You'll see online, people have a lot of different theories. Tuesdays at 2 p.m. when the sun is at a certain angle, your testosterone is at its highest, and that should be the only time you should work out. No, it doesn't matter. You have to do something that's sustainable for you. It literally doesn't matter when you work out. The individual has to make it work, because that'll create a habit, right? If we're gonna keep this up consistently, somebody told me, hey, you gotta work out at 5 a.m. every single day. I wouldn't work out very much. I would push it off a lot, because that's an early time for me. I'm just not ready to do that. Same thing with, just to keep those considerations. When you start to program for yourself, when am I the most energetic? When do I have that 2 o'clock lull, or what days in my schedule work? Those are things that you should really, really consider. So that kind of leads us into the frequency of when we should work out. So how many times a week? If you're not doing 7 times a week, 2 times a day, then you're failing at this whole thing, and you're never gonna make it. No, that's probably the fastest way to get an injury though. So again, look at yourself. Be realistic with yourself. Have you ever worked out before? Once a week? That's still a step in the right direction. And once you master once a week, and that becomes a habit, twice a week. And then once you become a habit, 3 times a week. And then you may even hit a point there at 3 times a week where you try to go to 4, and you're just exhausted for the next 2 workouts. So now you pull it back down to 3. And that's kind of like your happy medium on things. And I try to tell people too, how do you work out? You set it in your planner, or you set it in your day just like you would work. It's hard to do. It's not, it's not enjoyable in the moment. It's the after that we really go after for that. So think about it like your job, in a way. You wouldn't, if you woke up every day and decided, do I want to go to work today, or do I not want to go to work today? I would never go to work. There's a million other things you could always be doing, but making it a priority in your life because you want to live longer, because you want to be healthier, that's a huge step. And so once a week is fine for anybody. Do it once a week. And then, okay, 6 weeks have gone by. I've done it once a week. You know what, I'm gonna go for twice a week. Tuesday and Thursday, twice a week, I did it. And then you progress on from there. And something to realize too, don't think about what anyone else is doing. Doesn't concern you at all. You guys do the nutrition response testing here, and a lot of people have the same problems and same things, but each person gets tested individually for how many, what's their dosage for a certain prescription that is given out. Some people take 3, some people take 1, and that's how it should be with exercise. You can't look at what this person's doing or what that person is doing. It's about your own individual reach towards it and making progress in it. Because a lot of people will think, oh, I can do 3 or 4 times a week, but it's not realistic to keep that in your life forever. If you think about it as a forever thing, then it's like, okay, it's like, I reference back to my life, being married. Coming home at 9 p.m. every single night, if you're being married, it's gonna end you really, really quick. But if, you communicate and you go at 5 o'clock and, take care of everything with her, and that's good. Some take-home messages too for you guys. Exercise is great, strength training is great, but we live in a society now where 90% of jobs are from a seated position. You're stuck in a chair all day. They've done research with people that are Olympic level lifters who work a day job. Well, they do an hour or so of training, and then they go back to their day job. And these are the elite, the top of the top. And they sit in that chair, and they're actually considered a sedentary person. That's crazy to think about, that somebody that could compete in the Olympics works in a way that they're actually sedentary. That's how much our lives have changed. So get a tracker. Pedometers are really cheap, $3. Get 7,000 to 10,000 steps in a day. Make that a routine first, even before you come into the gym. That's a good stepping stone. Again, I reiterate things like this because I get a lot of questions like this. Don't listen to celebrities or anyone like that. I don't care what Kim K said to do to flatten your belly out in 6 weeks. It's not true. She's not trying to help you. She's trying to sell something, or she's trying to get clicks on things. Pay attention to yourself. Pay attention to yourself. Don't mind yourself with other people. If you hire a coach, that coach should have a plan developed for you. And he should have steps for you to go into, and that should be the only person that you're bouncing information off of. I've worked with a lot of people that reach out to different people and get information, and it's hard to coach in between different people of, oh, well, my mom told me that this is that, and her aunt, they said, no, just do what you think is right and follow that full on. And then don't try to overdo it. If you haven't worked out ever, or for the first time in your life, you don't need to go buy like a half of a meat slab and jump into a refrigerator and box it like Rocky. That's not the ticket towards it either. I would really, really not say that.
Sounds fun.
Begin. It is, right? It's not bad. No, but yeah, don't overdo it. You may feel great. Oh, I did 2 days. I'm doing 5 days next week. I'm doing 6 days the following week. If you do that and you make it 4 weeks, did you do anything? No, you're back right where you started. But if you can do 1 day for 6 months, 2 days for 6, now we've already created a year of building muscle to stop and prevent this stuff. And that's pretty much all I have as far as all of this goes. If anyone has any questions, I can take questions right now. Yes, sir, in the front.
What is the danger of somebody going to one of these box gyms, unguided, undirected? What could be the danger of them doing that? Especially like a guy like me, 60 years old or more.
Yeah, I mean, the older you get, the higher your likelihood of injury is in this. That's just plain and simple. Your joints aren't as cushioned, you're not as strong. If somebody's not paying direct attention to you, then you could run into some serious trouble with that. Bigger box gyms usually hire from the top, and they sell a bunch of personal training, and then they bring their trainers in at the lowest rate that they can. So they get the bottom of that, and that's how they kind of make their margins, I guess you could call it, by having somebody that's not as experienced, maybe hasn't seen anybody 65 years old or 60 years old ever do a squat, where it's like, we're gonna put this bar on your back. You've never worked out before? Here, we're gonna do lunges and things like that. And it's like, that's a fast track to be injured. So, good question.
Okay, Lucas, can we just say a couple things and we'll turn this off?
Yeah.
We can do questions.
Sure.
Yeah. So, All right, guys, I'm back. Lucas, thank you so much for that amazing presentation. We really appreciate your information. I actually wanted to come up and give my own personal testimony to Lucas, but I kind of wanted to backtrack just a little bit and start with the fact that many of you may know that my previous job was physical therapy. I was a physical therapist, and I had the privilege of helping many patients rebuild their physical levels of fitness and help them with their personal goals in a rehab setting as well as in the home setting. So I know very well the benefits and the importance of exercise. And I just want to share with you that even knowing that information, I can look back in my life where I had a lot of physical activity going on at a certain point in my time, and then things kind of fell off the wagon a little bit, and then some symptoms showed up, and I ended up going towards the nutrition route, and I improved my nutrition, so then I was more nutrition heavy and physical activity less. So what I'm trying to say is that no matter where you are in your activity level and where you are in your life, I'm sure that we can all look back and say, you know, I used to be more active, but I wish I was more active now. I'm a big believer in setting personal goals. And if physical fitness is a personal goal of yours, I really encourage you to do some soul searching and just really kind of see what your intentions are, and go from there. For me personally, you know, I've been on a little bit of a roller coaster in life, as maybe many of you have as well. And I have recently, probably at the end of 2019, I finally came to the understanding that if I don't get back into some form of exercise, I am going to be, in a nutshell, miserable. Only because I remember when I was so active, how it really helped me emotionally. Aside from the fact that we all know that it's good for our body, emotionally, it has been the number one thing for me in the recent months, in the past recent months. And I can honestly say that nutrition and exercise should be a marriage. But if you're anything like me, you know that marriage kind of gets a little separated at times throughout your life. I do believe that you cannot exercise your way out of a bad diet. Many people think that. Oh, I'll go to McDonald's and I'll eat a Big Mac and I'll go to the gym and exercise. I don't think Lucas would agree with that either. I know that that's definitely not the case. So if you think about nutrition and exercise as a marriage and see where that fits in your life, that might be really important to you. I can personally attest to Lucas. I have been training with him for the last 2.5 months, something like that. I really wanted to get right back on the wagon, and so I see him for 3 days a week for 30 minutes. And I remember him saying to me in the beginning, "Do you want to do an hour?" And I thought, an hour? No. An hour of exercise? Oh my God, who would want to inflict that much pain on oneself? No. So I love my 30-minute sessions. Maybe an hour is something that would be good for you. But I can tell you hands down, he is incredibly professional. He is very much on time, all right? You don't ever have to wait. I am literally in there for 30 minutes and I am out, okay? And I have this big giant smile on my face when I am done with my last set of exercises, and it is the best thing ever. And the big takeaway for me is that my mood has really changed. I have so much more energy. Okay, so along with the nutrition, if any of you are following me, I'm doing the 21-day purification program, which has been really great. So here we have a really good example of nutrition and exercise together. So with that nutrition, with the exercise, I have never felt better. And making those personal goals for yourself. I think I mentioned it on one of our workshops. My biggest personal goal is to be a healthy grandmother. I'm 51, I have 2 children, and I want to live until I'm 100. I want to be able to get up and down from the floor in my 80s and my 90s. I want to be an active grandmother, and I want to travel. I want to travel all over the world. So in order for me to obtain those goals, I know that nutrition and exercise need to stay a strong marriage in my life. So I'm super thankful for Lucas. For you guys on Facebook, I just wanted to let you know that we do offer nutrition coaching here. So nutrition coaching is really great for those of you who are confused about what to eat. We really take the guessing out of dieting, and we really help you stay accountable to some new habits. In addition, we offer nutrition response testing, which is a non-invasive way of getting to the root cause of any symptoms. All right. We do workshops every other week now, and typically I go very much into detail with nutrition response testing, as well as nutrition coaching. But tonight I'm going to go ahead and get back to Lucas and have any questions. But if anyone here has any friends or family that is interested in nutrition response testing or nutrition coaching or chiropractic care or pulsed electromagnetic field therapy, please, we would love to be able to help each and every one of them. Our mission is to help as many people as we can heal their bodies naturally without the use of drugs or surgery. All right, we're grateful to be able to help as many people as we have, and we look forward to continue to helping. So let us know if you have any questions, and I do want to let you guys know that not next week, but the following week, our next workshop, which is on February 18th, is how to stay ahead of the flu. All right, so I look forward to seeing you guys back here, and until then, have a great night.